Hi, my name is Courtney, and I am the program manager for Newsmatch at INN. And joining me is my coworker, Cynthia. You mind making an introduction?
Everyone, I am Cynthia. I am the admin exec assistant for INN. So I'm kind of always in the background, but I'm very familiar with your names. And my name pops up every now and again. Hello.
Thank you, Cynthia. So today we're going to be talking again about how to manage your profile through the INN member portal, which is powering our new discovery site. We also have some screenshots from the new discovery site, which are really exciting to share. We expect to get through this rather quickly, so there will be plenty of time for Q&A at the end, both about this and also about other things related to Newsmatch. If you saw in your email, we just announced the match amount and partner funds, which we'll talk about today too. And so there'll be plenty of time for Q&A at the end for us to talk about whatever questions you have. So Cynthia, I will let you manage the slides and we will get started. Pretty. Thanks. Okay, so yes, welcome to today's webinar. Let's jump to the next slide. So like I just shared, we shared some pretty important news that newsrooms are eager to know about, which is this year's match cap and bonuses and partner funds. So in the email, what we shared was that as of today, September 30th, the match cap for newsrooms that are eligible for national match funds, remember those are those with budgets below 1 million. The match cap is currently $10,000. This is the number that Newsmatch will match for a single eligible news organization. This amount could increase if additional funding is secured, and what is reflected in that 10K is what we have officially committed to date. There are a lot of warm leads that we are actually really looking to quickly close over the next 2 weeks. This number could shift, and when it does, we will share that with you. The second number is the individual donor match cap. This number is the maximum amount Newsmatch will match of a single individual donor. Currently, the individual donor match cap is $1,000, and that will not change. This means between November 1st and December 31st, no matter how much a donor gives, Newsmatch will only match up to $1,000. So if they make a gift of $5,000, that's great for your organization. Newsmatch will only match up to $1,000 of that single donor's gift. Can we jump to the next slide? The other news that we shared today is what we have secured to date in terms of partner funds and bonus funds. Partner funds are funds that funders that are either have a geographic focus or a topical interest will pull their resources together and select newsrooms that fit their funding priorities and their funding parameters. This is oftentimes funders who only fund nonprofits in, say, a particular state, or only fund environmental or science or journalism that covers science. What we do is allow those funders to still participate in Newsmatch and award their funds to a select number of newsrooms that fit that criteria. The only partner fund that we have committed and ready to go to date is a partner fund that will be awarded to newsrooms led by and serving persons of color, but a number of the grants that we are actually looking to close fall into the partner fund category, and we'll be announcing those as they become available. The third thing we shared in the email was about goal-based bonuses. So bonuses are performance-based awards. They're sort of like prizes that if a newsroom achieves a certain milestone or is able to leverage a certain donor activity, generally they're designed to support sustainable fundraising practices or support experimentation. When that happens, you receive a bonus. So this year's the bonus that we have fully committed to date is the new member bonus. This is for newsrooms that are receiving national match dollars and partner funds, any first-time recurring monthly donation that you secure will be matched at the annual value. For example, if someone begins their first $10 a month donation during the campaign period, you receive $120, that annual value. Bonuses, this is another category where there are grants currently in the work that will close soon, and additional bonuses you'll see pop up and appear that are that will award you on certain performance metrics. So I'm sharing that, and want to also note that I'm happy to take questions on any of these at the end of today's webinar. You can also email me at hello@newsmatch.org. Cynthia, do you mind dropping that in the chat, our email address, so that if you have questions specifically about this, feel free to reach out to me. I also dropped a note on the listserv. That's another place where you can ask questions. And what I'll be doing is kind of letting all the questions come in and sort of sharing, common questions that I'm getting with everyone as well, today and tomorrow. So I want to jump and sort of pivot to focus on today's conversation, which is how to manage your profile on the new website. Let's start with just explaining where we're at with things. So we shared this earlier in the year, but currently newsmatch.org, as well as News for Good, is built on GiveGab. And GiveGab is basically a giving day platform. When the program began, we created this as a tool to really host the campaign, because a lot of newsrooms, in fact, did not have donor systems or donor platforms in place. Well, 5 years later, a lot of that has changed, and I heard time and time again last year about the challenges to GiveGab, about ways that it could be improved and better support your existing donor processes. So we've made this change. We're going to sunset GiveGab, and what we're doing is creating a new discovery site that really, one of the key values of this new discovery site is it allows you to point people directly to your existing donation page. They do not have to versus making donations through GiveGab. But we realized that, some folks might be starting up or have been using GiveGab over the past few years, and we didn't want to just pull the rug up from under our members. So the platform will remain live through the Newsmatch 2021 campaign period. But as soon as the campaign period is over, it will sunset. When that happens, if you have gifts on GiveGab, you still be able to access historical donor data. If you have recurring gifts happening on GiveGab, they will continue to run even after January 7th. So any recurring gifts that are currently active will continue to run and be uninterrupted through the GiveGab, and you'll still be able to log in as an admin and manage those gifts that were started in the past. However, after January, any new donations will not be accepted. There's more information on the changes happening to GiveGab, including how you can manage your donor data, we asked the question, Emily, about migrating recurring gifts, all that you can find in this article. And again, I will address those specific questions at the end of our webinar too. But we have a lot of information online. We had a webinar earlier on Monday specifically about newsrooms who are making this transition, and a lot of notes are there too. But what we're here to talk about today, which is the next slide, Cynthia, is findyournews.org. What are we replacing this GiveGab tool with? And basically, we're creating a new public discovery site that allows people who visit the site to not only donate, but also connect with all of INN's member organizations. The site is designed to be sort of a year-long evergreen destination for people, for funders, to really learn more about INN's membership network. And during the Newsmatch campaign, it sort of has its own landing page for Newsmatch that will promote members that are participating. So again, the URL will be findyournews.org. It's not live yet, but will be in the coming weeks. again, this discovery site will not process donations. Instead, you will be providing your own donation page URL. And you'll be able to make profile changes. We're going to walk through how to do it today, but tomorrow, the system will open for you to go and make those changes to add your donation page URL or update any other information you'd like to appear on the site. So let's take a look at what the site will sort of look like. I'm really excited to share this with you all today. So this first slide is a little look at kind of like what the home page will look like. It's meant to be sort of like a fun diagnostic sort of experience for the user. I wouldn't so much as go say as call it a dating site, but the concept is that, people can put in various criteria for what they're looking for, the type of news they're looking for, and it delivers them results based on the data that you provide. Two of the main search dimensions that we know are popular are topics and location. So it sort of starts with asking the user to match me with newsrooms covering any topic or in any state. And again, this is all powered by the results of these searches are all powered by what you provide to us in your portal, in your profile. If you jump over to the next slide, you can kind of see how these dimensions sort of work. Once you get search results, users can filter by place, they can filter by geographic reach, meaning I'm only looking for local outlets or I'm looking for global outlets. You can filter by topics covered, as well as your reporting styles, like whether you do SMS text reporting or whether you do data-driven reporting. Those are other things that can filter, as well as language. Again, these are all things that you can update in your profile to power this search tool. The third slide is sort of a screenshot of what your page will look like. And what I'm sort of highlighting to the right is the fact that there are multiple calls to action for the visitor. Again, that visitor can donate, which points to your donation page, but they can also follow you on social media. And we have a link now to subscribe to a newsletter. Again, these are all URLs that you provide us through the portal. Aurora asks, how do we update our profile? That's exactly what we're going to talk about next, is now that you've seen the tool, how do you make sure your information is up to date and ready to go on it? So with that said, I am going to pass the mic over to my colleague, Cynthia, who's going to talk about the nitty gritty of how to do it. I do want to just look at the Q&A and see if there are any questions I should answer now. Let me answer Emily. Emily asks that they have one recurring GiveGab donor. Do we need to make them migrate to PayPal? The answer is no. You do not have to force your existing recurring donors to move onto your existing systems. They still will run. But if you would like to, how you would do that is ask that donor to renew in your existing system and then go and contact GiveGab to cancel the one that's on GiveGab. But again, it's not required. It still will be uninterrupted if you like. Mary, I will answer your question about the new member bonus at the end of today's webinar. Christine asked, will Instagram be a social media link too? Yes. This visual you see right now is sort of our latest mock-up, and we'll be making slight changes to what you see, but yeah, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram will be the three social links, not LinkedIn, as you see here. Yasmin asked, she just wants to clarify, so GiveGab and News for Good are going away? Yes. On January 7th, GiveGab and News for Good will go away. We are encouraging newsrooms to adopt their own donor systems. We've shared a wealth of resources around that, which I think the first step, if you rely completely on GiveGab and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What I always recommend is your first step is to book a one-on-one with our tech consultant. We do have implementation grants available, as well as a free, like a developer who's able to dedicate hours to make any help with the transition if you need it. Okay. Cynthia, I will pass the mic to you, and Ethan, I will answer your question about the match cap at the end.
Hello, everyone. For those who missed my small intro, I am Cynthia. I am the admin exec assistant for INN. I also handle the internal database, try to help membership department update your records and keep everything up to date. We are in the midst of launching our INN database portal. Some of you have had an experience with it. It's been a little clunky in the beginning, so hopefully with this, we'll be able to kind of walk you through logging in, how to update your Find Your News profile, and also just update your information as a whole. And this will go across all INN. So first, to log in, this is on our website, the Member Login Center. It will redirect you to the INN portal. You don't have to jump any other page. It's really easy to access. And then once here, you do want to make sure that you are logging in with the correct information. INN runs on 2 different types of accounts. First is your organization. So that's like your actual membership. So for example, INN is a membership. It's an organization. And then we also have a separate individual profile. So as long as you have the correct credentials, you can go ahead and log in correctly, and it'll take you to the right place. So pretty obvious here. You just log in, you know you're in the right place. It says welcome INN. And this step is really crucial to know. And this is kind of where it gets a little complicated and confusing. If you are trying to access your member organization to update that information, you have to have that user name and password. Individual profiles are more for staff, like employees, and that is just minimized information. So like your main account is contact, your email, and then it just gives you access to the INN website. So here, organization profiles, this is where you pay your dues. This is where you will update your profile for findyournews.org. Your primary contact, so that's the main person that speaks to INN staff.
Can I quickly step in here, Cynthia, if you mind? If you go back to that slide about the important step, I really want to just pause and really focus here, because what we find often is like when members are renewing their dues, that this is often the most confusing step to access the right place. So when you log into INN's member portal, you can log in either as a personal user. In the example, it would be, Courtney@inn.org, my personal email. And when I log in as a personal user, that gives me certain options within the portal as an individual, as a staff member at at a member organization. But as an individual, I can't do things that have to be managed at the organization level. So when you're logging in to manage your findyournews.org profile, or you're logging in to pay dues to do activities that happen at the organization level, you have to log in as your organization. Oftentimes, those usernames are not your email address. Those usernames are not Courtney@inn.org. Those usernames is the name of your organization. And that's what Cynthia is sort of explaining. Exactly right. So it's just an important first step. Again, it's often times confusing, and people will log in as under their personal user accounts and not find what they're looking for. So we just want to really drive home, you are not logging in as a personal user, you are logging in as your organization.
And to answer the 2 questions in the chat, Emily, yes, we will be sending out instructions and login information that will be sent out tomorrow. So look out for that email. It will be sent out to Newsmatch contacts and the primary contact of your organization. If it isn't you, I do suggest you track down that information so that you have access to the user credentials. Aurora, we did update everyone's information. So once again, you will be receiving that tomorrow. So you will have access. So again, knowing that that's like the most important step to log in, it's really easy to tell if you are in the right account. If it says the member name, you are definitely in the right account. If it has a personal name or your name, then you are in the incorrect account. So you can just log out, re-log in with the correct username and password.
Can I list some of the questions we have in the chat?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. The first question is, you asked about, will we send an email with instructions, links for logins? Yes. Another, Annalise asks, so do we have to create 2 profiles, one for us as an individual user and one for our organization?
No. So the good thing is once you become a member of INN, you are already set up with a user account. We send out a welcome with the username and password. Because this is a new system, we are resending out this information. In the past, we have only used this for member dues and renewals. It has been slightly complicated because of the 2 different types of accounts. So we're hoping that moving forward, we can really streamline the process and help you guys access the correct account on the first try. For individual accounts, you can register through our website, and that will be for a personal account. Once again, this account lets you gain access to the INN portal, the Member Resource Center. If you happen to know your organization's username and information, you can go ahead and use that. It leads you to the same place. Just keep in mind that the 2 different ones provide 2 different options for how to update your information. So in other words, the individual profile is more limited, but it still helps you gain access to the Member Center.
So the individual profile, you can register to create one. The organization profile, you do not create that. We create that and send you the credentials. And Chris asked, are you saying that we changed the login information? His was working a few weeks ago and now it's not. I think, Chris, in that situation, if you could just send a note to login@inn.org, and we'll just follow up with you individually to make sure we get us, we can give you the right information. We'll send it right to you.
Okay. So once you're logged in as a member organization to update your findyournews.org, it's really easy to gain access to update your profile. There is a drop-down menu on the right-hand side. So it looks something like this. These options change depending on different things that we have going on, different campaigns. Right now, these are the standard options. Something else to keep in mind, and I do apologize for the complication. Our system at the moment does not differ the menu options for staff employees versus a member organization. But if you do click on something that is limited, it will let you know. So individuals, employees cannot pay dues. The system will tell you, but you are a member. So here you just choose update your profile. It leads you to this second screen. And oops, sorry. So all this information, a great thing is once you enter it, the system will remember it. So you can see everything that's been entered. You can update whatever you'd like. If you don't have anything to update, you can just leave as is. And here you can also update your logo. So now I'm going to actually walk you through a live demo. It's a lot easier than just kind of showing you screen caps. And before I do, can everyone see my screen? I know you guys can't answer, but
yes, we can see.
A yes in thing would be helpful. So
And as you're setting that up, I would again just reiterate, we're planning to send an email tomorrow to your primary contact at your organization, as well as your primary news match contact that was listed in your application. The email will link these instructions, and also explicitly say, this is the organization username and this is the organization password. You will receive that email tomorrow that you can enter in once you reach this screen. Cynthia, if you don't mind, would you mind actually starting at the homepage of INN that shows members how to even get to this page? Okay. Thank you.
All right, so sure. This is our landing, and you go directly to the member center. Now, something interesting here is these are like the main obvious instructions, but there are more options here. We do have an explanation for the difference in member profiles if you're curious to read a little bit more about that. So to log in, I'm gonna go right back up to the top. And so I am logging in as INN, the member organization. I do have a choice to remember me for 2 weeks. And once logged in, it does show my name, so I know that I'm in the correct profile. There's a little message here. Sometimes we will have updates here to let you know what else is going on with INN, different things you can learn about, different programs and services. So now I'm going to go here to the right-hand menu. I'm going to choose Update Profile. So this profile is directly connected to findyournews.org. So when you do fill out this information, if you click Submit, it takes about a minute, probably less, depending on your Wi-Fi connection, for it to update. So it updates in live. So you can see the changes. If you don't like it, you can immediately go back, update the information, fix a typo, anything, change your photo. So here, I know the information is already here, but I'm going to go ahead and fill it out again.
What I'd like to show is the distinction between the member name and the primary publication name. The member name is often like your legal name or the name that we have on file for your organization. For most INN members, it's the same as their publication name, but for some INN members, it's actually different. Like what their organizations or 501c3's name is different than their publication name. And so the second line that says publication name, that is the tab that will power what appears on findyournews.org. There's a note there that says, this exact text will appear publicly as your organization name on findyournews.org. Sometimes that's redundant, but other times, it's different. We have an example of, we have some members, like the Center for Michigan, is really the member, but they have 2 publications. What they would put in that blank, what they would put as their publication name is Bridge Detroit and Bridge Michigan. Again, I think it's important to list things that list the publication name as you imagine people will be searching for you by. So, having sometimes Inc. or, well, none of you all are LLC, but having sometimes like really business or legal names aren't really how people know you by. So that's why we have 2 separate fields.
Mm-hmm. And something else to remember too, we dissuade anyone from using abbreviations. We do get into, I guess, fashion of just using abbreviations when we want to introduce ourselves or introduce our publications, but the search will not respond to abbreviations. So try to use a full name when filling out the primary publication. And that also goes for the member name as well. So here it's obvious, you just fill out your main information. And this is where you're actually like your base, where you're located for your office. If it's a PO box, if it's, building, this is the information you would fit here. And that's different than your geographic reach, obviously. We want to share what people actually cover. And many times we're located in one city, but we actually cover a different community, a different state sometimes. And this is where you would
Yeah,
fill
this
that
is important.
information in.
This was another step we created. So we realized that, you know, you might be based in Arizona, but you cover the entire Southwest. So when the search engine is looking for states, like when someone, you know, so say for instance, you're based in Arizona, but you also cover Colorado. When someone searches Colorado, even though you're based in Arizona, you will still appear. And all of that is powered by this section here, geographic reach. What states do you cover? And you will end up displaying in the search results. Emily asked, and I'm just voicing the questions in the chat for the recording purposes, but Emily asked, will search respond to both org and our pub name and org name? Yes. Either, you know, if someone searches your legal name or your pub name, it will result in the search. It pulls from both.
So once again, try not to use abbreviations.
Yeah.
Full spelling is the best way to go. And so just going on to like the pre-recorded details that we already have filled in. Let's say your publication has a new place that is now covering, you can go ahead and add that. All that information is here. We do include provinces. We do have Canada. So we're trying to grow this list as locations grow as well. Primary cities covered, it's the exact same thing as what Courtney just explained. And again, no abbreviations. Now a tagline.
Barbara has asked a question related to the geographic reach question is, what are the choices besides statewide?
So the choices besides statewide, right now they're limited to what most of our members cover. So we do have Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, provinces and territories in Canada. And I do believe we will be adding the United Kingdom. Courtney, do you expect to have an other section?
I think she's referring to the question above that is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The reach, yeah.
So it's pretty standard. So it'll, if you cannot see it, it's a little small. So it's local, statewide, the US region in general, then national and global.
So Barbara, if you are city specific, you know, if you would select local, like your reach is very local versus state.
All right. So Courtney, do you want to give an idea of what the tagline is, what we hope it to be?
Yeah, the tagline really gives you an opportunity to, you know, when people land on, you know, a web page, they don't read every single word. So the tagline sort of appears above the fold on the website, you know, above the point in which someone has to scroll down to read more. And it's limited to 101 characters. You're able to put whatever you like here. It could be it could be a shortened mission statement. It could be if you have a tagline. It could be, you know, however you want to quickly, I would say, summarize your work in a tweet. The publication mission statement. Yeah, the publication, it's actually shorter than a tweet, but the publication mission statement and what you want people to know about your work sort of appear as body text, likely below the fold, and these allow for longer characters. I think the character limit's like around 1,000 characters, but you can provide a little bit more, and these sections are labeled on the site, you know, mission statement, and then the second section is named about our journalism. I think this is really an opportunity for you to sort of tell your story, maybe about what your coverage is like. You know, I think sometimes we try to fit everything in the kitchen sink into our mission statements when they should be sort of simple and easy to understand, which is why we provided those two sections for you to list your official mission statement. But sometimes that doesn't really tell all the breadth of what you're currently working on or what you aspire to do in the coming year. So there's two sections there. Ethan asked about the geographic reach. Could we select both national and global, for instance? No, you only are able to select one geographic reach organization, geographic reach for your organization.
Okay, and then year founded, it's pretty obvious. And most organizations add this information in your member application, but you can always update it if you realize that you're a year off or anything else related to that. Now about your news coverage, these are the topics covered. These are main topics, but you are welcome to choose more than one. We try to include topics that you cover on a normal basis. So let's say you do a lot of articles or write-ups about rural issues, that would be one. If you just happen to have one article about food, that doesn't really necessarily mean you cover it, but you can include it if it's a really good article.
What we like to say is that you want the data, like if someone visits your website, they can visibly find and see. This content and information. What you don't want is to sort of mislead or mislead your users just to appear, right? So like if you select recreation and I go to your website, I'm wanting to engage with you because I search for recreation. I want to make sure I'm receiving that content. Danny, why not add local to the topics covered? Local, you could describe in your geographic reach. And so, for instance, you might cover local politics or statewide politics. We didn't separate those as separate topics because it's sort of redundant for that geographic reach focus. So you'll select like what your reach is up at the top, and then what topics you select, what topics you cover within that reach, whether it be local, statewide, or global. You can select. And Danny, he asked, yes, but a potential contributor might want to search for local. And if they search for local, if you select local as your geographic reach, it will appear.
So Judith also asks Courtney, what is the difference, or if they're founded in 1976, but they transitioned as a nonprofit, what would you consider as year founded?
You want to identify the year in which you began publishing. So if you started as an alt weekly that began publishing in 76, that's the year you want to put. The change of your legal status or the change of your ownership is not the date, is not the year we're looking for. We're looking for the year in which the publication began reporting. Good question.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on. So keywords, this is if people want to add something to the filter search. So let's say they're looking for statewide coverage that covers rural areas, women's rights. There is a character limitation, but we want to keep it to like something small. Anything else, Courtney, that you'd like to add there?
Nope, that if there's anything we missed in your profile, you could add as a keyword. We might have not thought of everything. Mm-hmm. Realize that.
And so reporting types are pretty standard. So moving on, and this is a very important piece when you are adding URLs. We are trying to include social media, your main website, your donation pages, and also your subscription pages for your newsletters, hoping to get more readers. But please always include the long HTTP. So the two platforms can read that and transition it to an actual active link. So this ugly code will not show up on the front end, but it's very important to have it on the back end, just something to remember. So once you fill everything out, you just click submit. And takes about a second or so. And your profile's been updated. Because findyournews.org is still in its construction status, we cannot show you a live version of that, but I will show you that this information has been recorded. Just going back to like seeing what you've added, if you need to make any changes. Obviously that has changed the same, but you can see my new comments down here. I wish I knew this by heart. So once again, you can change all of this. It takes about up to a minute for it to update live to the new findyournews.org site. So going back to key points, to update your profile, make sure you log in as your organization. This information will be sent out to you tomorrow. It will be sent out to the primary contact for your organization, as well as the contact for Newsmatch. Always use the HTTP link, kind of annoying and old school, but it will help keep all your links active, and include the full URL for social media pages. Same reason, it'll activate it. And please limit your selections to what we recommend so that all your information can be streamlined on the new site. Any other comments, Courtney?
We've got some questions that I will answer.
Okay.
Start to answer in the chat. So Rebecca asked, our donation program has a main donation landing page, and then they can add separate campaign pages, probably to track performance across campaigns throughout the year. She asked, should we make a campaign page for Newsmatch 2021? Rebecca, that's completely up to you. I actually think it's kind of smart. Like if you can create a custom links for your subscription, your newsletter subscriptions, as well as your donation pages. That way you can track what donations are reaching you through this site. Yeah, I think that you can, but it's not required. You do not have to use GiveGab to participate in Newsmatch. You can accept donations from any donor platform. As part of the reporting process, you notify us just on where the sources of your donations are to be matched. Earlier, I saw a question from Julie about how this site will be promoted. So this site INN will promote this site during Newsmatch, and we'll be promoting it as through a digital ad campaign, really targeting folks on social media to find your news, discover your news site, and these will be targeted digital ads that point to this new discovery tool. Other questions we see, someone asks, this kind of looks familiar. I feel like I've answered these questions before. Noreen, you're right. You answered these questions as part of your Newsmatch application, and whatever you answered in your Newsmatch application has automatically been imported. So when you log in, you'll see the answers that you provided to us as part of your application. What you won't see you'll see certain items that are blank because we didn't ask it as part of your Newsmatch application. One of the most important things that you will need to go in and add is the link to your donation page. We did not ask that as part of the application, so it's currently blank. But all the other things like the topics you covered, your reach, all that stuff will appear and has been migrated into the system. Susan asks, who do you see will use this database, and how do you plan to market it to them? I think we have probably 3 core audiences for the database. The first is donors. We have or people who are looking to find quality news in their community or on topics of interest. And again, through Newsmatch, that will be promoted through a digital ad campaign, and also as part of our campaign strategy for a lot of our press. The second audience, I think, is funders. Oftentimes we currently have an INN directory that exists now that funders use on a pretty regular basis to get a sense of newsrooms that are within their state, or newsrooms that cover certain topic areas. The current directory sort of has limited information about you, and this directory allows you to tell a little bit more of your story. I think that's the second audience. The third audience, I think really is an opportunity for other newsrooms, other nonprofit newsrooms, as a buzz about this tool where, anyone can go and find a newsroom to match their interest area. I think we'll see other nonprofit newsrooms inquire, how do I get listed onto this site? And it's an opportunity for us to talk about INN's editorial standards, as well as our financial transparency standards, and about INN membership. Are there any other questions? Right, Ethan, right. Yeah, so yeah, feel free to drop in questions if you have a match cap or anything else. Let's get to some of those. So Ethan asked, thank you so much for this info. Does the $10,000 match cap only apply to orgs with budgets under 1 million? Yes, that match cap is the national match cap fund that only applies to those organizations that are under 1 million. For organizations that are larger, the source of your match funds, we really encourage the growth of community matches, local match dollars. We provided a number of resources earlier in the year to really help you build those. The other source of match funds that you might receive is through partner funds. Again, not every single newsroom receives partner funds, but if you're designated by the funder because you align with their geographic interests or their topical interests, you also are eligible for those. Noreen asks a quick question for the 10K. Do we need to raise the 10K to get the match? Yes. We match your donations dollar for dollar. So if you raise $2,000, you'll receive $2,000. If you raise $100, you'll receive 100, all the way up to 10,000. So it's a dollar for dollar match. If you do not reach 10,000, you still will get a dollar for dollar match of what you did raise, even if it was below. Annalise asks, is the new recurring donation bonus in addition to the 10K or included? It is included within the 10K, not in addition. Danny, you are correct. The $10,000 cap is a cap, not a floor. It's not like you have to raise that to get it. We'll match anything you raise up to 10K. And it's true, not all members raise the 10K or raise the match cap. Jenny asks, when will the matching funds be paid out by Newsmatch to participants? There's a reporting process in which you provide the documentation for gifts you're requesting to be matched. That happens in January. All that information is processed in February. We'll reach out to you if we have questions. By mid-March, you receive the payments for your Newsmatch payout. If there are any other questions I missed from earlier about the match cap, feel free to drop them in again. I'm going to see if there are others. Mary asked earlier, if you are not eligible for match funds or receiving partner funds, are you eligible for the new member bonus? No, you would not be eligible for the new member bonus, but we are still in the process of locking down a few other bonuses that that all newsrooms can qualify for. Does the $10,000 match cap go down if partner funds are found? No, partner funds are added on top of the national match fund if you are receiving both. So here's an example. So if there's a partner fund who wants a funder who wants to award an additional $5,000 in matching funds to your organization through the partner fund, what happens is those match funds actually run simultaneously, meaning that, you know, the first $5,000 that you raise, the partner fund is going to match it as well as Newsmatch. So they stack on one another. They don't subtract from one another. Noreen asked, what are these partner funds? So again, like partner funds are basically side funds that exist to award matching funds to organizations that fit a certain criteria. An example is last year we had a funder who said, you know, our interests, like our mission is to fund nonprofit newsrooms that are in the South or in Puerto Rico. And instead of telling them, oh no, you can't support Newsmatch, what we do is say, okay, yes, we can create, we can limit your, your partner funds. We can allow that to be awarded to newsrooms that fit your funding priorities. So that's what a partner fund is. Another example might be a funder based in Pennsylvania that only funds newsrooms within the state of Pennsylvania. Or we had last year another funder who funds the sciences, and they awarded matching funds to organizations that do coverage of the sciences. The list of partner funds that are available are posted online, which we shared. The only one that exists as of today is a partner fund for news organizations that are led by and serving communities of color. Again, there are many that we are working to quickly close, and that the group of partner funds we do expect to grow, and we will be announcing what they are as they come in. Barbara asks, what's the definition of a new member? A new member is anyone who is making a first-time recurring donation to your organization. So if they've made a one-time donation in the past, but they begin a recurring donation during this campaign period, they're considered a new recurring donor. Does LED include senior editors, or does it have to be EIC? I don't know what EIC means, but LED is based on the data that you provided as part of your news application. We asked you to report the ethnic and racial makeup of the top 3 individuals you have in leadership, both your executive director, whoever's leading editorial and/or business. Do orgs ever develop their own match partners at the local level? Yes. And Elise, I'm guessing you are a new member of new to Newsmatch, because what we saw last year is a huge spark in what we call them local matches or community matches. Last year, just for example, Newsmatch awarded about $3.1 million in national match dollars. Newsrooms raised on their own $3.1 million in local matches. So newsrooms do build their own local match funds. When those are built, Newsmatch has no claim to them. They're not restricted in any way. You can structure them in any way, and they are independently secured and managed by your team in that funder as to how it's going to be administered and how it's going to be matched. Are there any updates on what is available for large organizations this year? The latest news on that, Laura, is partner funds. So if you are large organizations and you're served by or led by persons of color, you can qualify for that partner fund. That's what we have available to date. But again, there are a number of partner funds that are sort of in the works that will open up, that will be that large organizations will be eligible to receive. Ooh, I'm getting through these questions. Are there any others that folks have? For Cynthia, also, about the tool. Yasmin asked, so Find Your News will be used for Newsmatch 2022. Yes, it will be. It also will be used for this year. It will be live both for 2021 and 2022. Courtney, Barbara asked if I could please go back to how we're defining new INN members. There's no criteria that we have around new INN members. Barbara, the new member bonus is not necessarily about your status of INN membership, but about whether you're receiving a new donor to your organization. Yeah, the new member bonus is referring to your donors, not your membership status with INN. That makes sense. Great. So I am going to drop again. If you have any further questions about Newsmatch, I encourage you to send them to hello@newsmatch.org. If you have questions about this new tool, feel free to send that there, and I'll make sure they get over to Cynthia. Cynthia, any other things you want to add before we close?
Yeah, just look out for that email tomorrow. It will include your login credentials with the instructions, and it will be important for you to save that information in case you don't have autosave or autofill on your computer or you forget. Just look out for that email sometime at noon, by noon, Western time, right, Courtney?
Yeah.
PT?
Thank you all.